lifestyle through NFTs. So we're actually diving into the community aspect, what makes us different, and why we're building on Sui. We're not really going to dive into our actual project. If you want to talk about that and like dive into our origins and how we got started, we'll be here for the next couple of hours, so definitely let's look up. So just to start off, a little introduction. My name is Ben Lee. I am the co-founder and creative director for Studio Mirai. I lead the project's creative brand strategies, community initiatives, business development, and the overall direction of the project.
Hey, my name is Michael Harney. I'm the Chief Product Officer for Studio Mirai. I work primarily on building the story of Nozme, which fleshes out the intellectual property behind our brand, as well as the upcoming Mirai Heroes trading card game, which is launching on Sui.
Yeah, and a quick introduction for the project. We are a multi-chain NFT lifestyle brand. So we categorize ourselves as a lifestyle brand because we focus on a variety of different aspects, including art, story, community, culture, GameFi, media, streetwear, and more. And these aspects incorporate both Web 2 and Web 3 aspects. So if we will do questions later, if people are still coming in, checking in, we'll be getting t-shirts out later, so if that impacts anything. So let's kick into
So our philosophy, which separates us from a lot of other NFT brands, is leading by creating a lot of value first up front. So one thing we often see too much of in the space is different NFT brands promising to create a lot of value, but they need a lot of funding from users before they get close to getting there or deliver value up front. So we very deliberately take the opposite approach, where we try to deliver as much value as we possibly can with the resources that we do have, which builds up a lot of trust in our community and allows people to know that we do have the legs for the future to build out a lot of value behind our brand. So the first way we delivered on that is the story of Nozme. So you can scan the barcode if you're interested in reading up. We're about 30 or so chapters deep, so there's a lot to read. Basically, when we started our project, we started with basically literally zero external funding. So our approach was, okay, how do we deliver a lot of value without a lot of upfront investment capital? So by creating a story, it's a lot of effort to write out the story, but it doesn't require a lot of capital to really flesh that out. So we've been continuing to build on this story. Our fledgling collection and Tamashi are all characters in the story, so if you own a Tamashi, you can influence the story through that character. And that was a really interesting way for us to create a lot of value up front, demonstrate a lot of effort, and really build a foundation of the project.
Yeah, and another aspect that we take a lot of pride of is in our community. So what is a community? In this space, a lot of NFT projects, when people say, I want to build a community, I want to build a metaverse, what does that actually mean? Is it all followers on Twitter? Is it 100,000 people in the Discord? We see it as this. So this is a lot of, in this space, you see this a lot. So in Discord, it's mainly people just going like, nice project, hi, and you never see them ever again. It cannot be a mod web white list. Like this stuff doesn't really exist in our Discord. So there's a lot of things, with like followers equals engagement. So we actually don't agree with that. We think, engagement equals engagement. So we do a lot. So overall, we want to create a safe space in our community. So people in our community have real conversations. We don't talk about the crypto. We don't talk about price up, price down, bear market. We only talk about we try to get to know all of our community members. We talk about what's going on in their lives. And we do a lot of these things by hosting daily events. So I've been hosting daily events in our Discord since December of 2021. So just over a year and 3 or 4 months, I've been hosting events Monday through Friday, every single day for a year and a few months. Sometimes on the weekends as well. And these range from 30 minutes to 2 hours to 6 hours. And yeah, so the events range from like wheel spins, Pokemon unboxings, anime, fireside chats, poker tournaments, and more, and pretty much anything. So with these events, we actually got a really good opportunity to get to know our community members, and our community members got to know our community members to create this really communal space. So we kind of categorize this as a digital metaverse, right? We have a metaverse where people come online and exist. And with the digital side, we also have a IRL side too. So we had the amazing opportunity last year in December of 2022 to co-organize a blockchain conference with Web3 Narva, who's an incubator in Narva, Estonia. So this was in the peak of winter, 20 feet of snow, in the middle of nowhere. And our community members flew out and hung out with us And we also got a grant from the community to pretty much bring along a bunch of NFT projects in our community to this event to showcase their product, talk to their community members as well. So this was an amazing opportunity.
All right, now we can talk about our two main NFT collections. So our initial collection was the Tamashi, which I mentioned very briefly earlier. It's a collection of very unique one-of-one NFTs that we launched on the Icon blockchain. And this really demonstrated our philosophy of putting a lot of effort up front. So each of the Tamashi was entirely unique. All the 100 represented a different philosophy, very unique art, not procedurally generated at all, which helped us really distinguish ourselves within the Icon blockchain and become a very big fish in a small pond. And I remember when the Tamashi were selling, there was a point where we gained a lot of momentum during the course of the bull market where they were selling for about $7,000 to $8,000 immediately after mint. People were buying them, people were selling them for $7,000 to $8,000. And our take on this was actually to keep the minting price at $150 because we wanted the community hype to naturally build our brand, build our community, instead of taking a sort of quick cash kind of approach because we knew that hype would really sustain ourselves over the long term in a much more sustainable way. So the Tamashi was a great success for us. It was 100 really great individual NFTs, but 100 NFTs alone doesn't scale as much as we of course want to scale. So the Mashin was a great solution to that. It's an antagonistic robot army in the story that faces off against the Tamashi. And we're launching them in 3 different phases. The first phase was on Icon. We released the first third of the Mashin there. We're releasing the next third on the Sui blockchain, and we're releasing the final third on a chain that remains to be seen. So this is really a great approach to expand our brand and our community as a whole.
Yeah, I want to add that during the Tamashi drop days, some of these sold in half a block. People were hunting them down to the point that I had to come up with these elaborate ways for people to get them. These were through hidden drop codes. I would tweet a drop code in a meme, in another meme, and then that might be the wrong one too.
Yeah, very elaborate anti-bot measures there. Because we put 6-hour time frame on when you would drop.
Yeah.
So the one block is somone hitting refresh for 6 hours, literally. So there was a lot of hype behind that collection, and it really allowed us to grow the card community.
A lot of emotional damage. So the next phase, so why Sui? So we were in our Icon community, we were a big fish in a small pond. So we're hoping for a big fish in a big pond with Sui. So one of the first, and one of the main reasons why we chose Sui is building community standards. So what does that mean? So with a fresh blockchain, we have a really unique opportunity to create new community standards. So over the past couple months, I've been talking to a bunch of NFT projects building on Sui, and we've kind of formed curating a group of people that share the same mentality, people that want to build high quality community engagement and all that things to create a safe space in this ecosystem. So I think if we have the opportunity to create a healthier ecosystem of actual engagement, where people just aren't hunting for whitelists, people are actually interested in your project for the longevity, I think that's going to be a very bullish, ecosystem perk to Sui overall.
So why Sui, right? We have 2 main deliverables on the Sui blockchain. We have the Enforcer Mashin, which I mentioned earlier, which are these big, bulky, strong machines that are going to be launching on the Sui blockchain. We also have the upcoming Mirai Heroes trading card game, which I'm very excited about. I've been working on that for about 9 months now, and we're going to be working with the Cradle Builder program, thanks guys, to help build out the game with more developers working on it, and we're excited to launch that on the Sui blockchain. We think it's going to be a really great gamer experience. And also we'll be utilizing a lot of the technology that Sui has to provide, the pretty fast transaction time as well as dynamic NFTs have some really interesting implications for the card game. So we're looking to leverage that in a lot of new and interesting ways.
So along with our lifestyle brand I mentioned in the intro, media was a product as well. So I lead this area, so we have a video production part in our project as well. And we had the amazing opportunity, actually 2 days ago, we shot these 2 days ago, offsite at a studio with Jacob from Clutchy, from Origin Byte, I think I saw him earlier, Sean from Suganes, and Thay Allen from Cradle. And we basically created a bunch of content called Why Sui. And these contents, are narrative, short-form content, easy to understand. Our motto is making sense of Web3. And we're hoping to create these content to hopefully have people get interested about Sui, learn about Sui. And so so the main two videos that we're covering is gaming for the future and a new wave of NFTs. So we're really excited to share that content with you soon, probably next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and this whole media thing is really symbolic of how we do partnerships, very much like putting effort before the quick kind of payday. So all these people are people we're partnering with that we haven't fully leveraged the partnerships yet in terms of what we're building. But we thought, you know what, the great thing to do is just make a commercial for all these guys, instantly right away. So I think putting a lot of effort before cashing in, so to speak, is the way we like to do partnerships and really building relationships through our brand.
Yeah, and with this route, with the Why Sui, this video content creation route, it also allows people to understand what Sui actually is and why we're so bullish on it. So I'm super excited to just edit and get this out. And moving into this, so this is our white paper. If you guys are interested in diving deeper into our project, like I said, this talk was mainly about the community, why we're building on Sui, what makes it different. If you are actually interested in diving deeper into our project, read the white paper. We'll be here for the next couple hours. But that's it. Thank you for listening to us. We also want to ask, if you guys have any questions. We have 3 T-shirts that we're giving out to people that ask questions. So does anybody have any questions?
Wow.
What's the timeline on that TCG?
Yeah, good questions.
Chris, I was just curious what the timeline is on the TCG.
Yeah, good question. So I believe on our white paper we had it for Q4 originally, but through the builder program we're working with and some of the other measures we made, I believe we'll be able to release even earlier than that, but that is sort of safe, conservative timeline.
Alright, he said he doesn't want a T-shirt, so we still have 3 more T-shirts left. Does anybody want a free merch?
Yeah,
any questions? Question comes with merch, so.
Yes, you, here in front.
Hi, so my name is Jane. I manage community at Sui Foundation. So that includes the Discord that we have. I wanted to know how you manage noise and how you keep the community high quality, because we definitely have a lot of noise in our Discord right now.
Yeah, so we do daily events, like I said, and usually people who come into our Discord, there's a certain level of verification that they have to do. So we're very anti-bot. So when you join our Discord, you have to register your address, either icon or Sui address, and you're given the roles. And then you also we banned hi, GM, GN, and then
If anybody looks like a robot.
yeah, if you act like a bot, it's not even me that's gonna be why are you here? It's gonna be our community that's gonna be why are you here? They're already trained from so much emotional damage that if a bot comes in, they're gonna be who are you? Why are you stepping that turf? So it's part of that culture that we built. But as we're building out new as we're expanding, we're creating more noise. We actually take a lot of pride in our mods. So our mods aren't normal mods. So they're all we call them pillars of NoseMe. And they've been with us since September of 2021. They've been throughout all of the project. So they're actually interested into our project. So we don't really when people come into this sort of oh, I want to be a mod, I've wanted for this and this and this, and I'm alright, what is the community? And they can't answer that, get out of here. Our mods help us contain that noise as well. What size shirt do you want?
I'm okay if you pay
No, everybody doesn't want shirts. Okay, if this size doesn't work, I'll give it a shake later.
We have another question, and over here.
Hey guys, thanks for the presentation. I'm interested in how you design the gameplay for your TCG and what you're trying to optimize for. Have you taken inspiration from anything from baseball cards through to Magic the Gathering? What are you trying to design for?
Yeah, so we're actually Yu-Gi-Oh nerds growing up, so Mike can take it away.
Yeah, I could answer this question for 2 hours, so I need to contain myself. So I've played a lot of trading card games and obviously studied a lot of the popular games on the market to see what they do well, what they don't do well. Obviously, as Ben said, we grew up as Yu-Gi-Oh people, but Hearthstone is definitely like a big inspiration in terms of what was very popular. I think Legends of Runeterra does some things very well that Hearthstone doesn't necessarily do. Finding the right balance between like RNG and like good strategic gameplay is very important. Making sure there's like the right balance, and also you know, like archetype fantasies are very important. Where like if you play a strategy, you want to have this specific like kind of thing happen for the dopamine to hit, for you to enjoy it, and each strategy needs to feel very diverse. So I could go on about this for like hours and hours. We could talk after if you want like a more in-depth explanation. But we've studied a lot of the lead-in games, and I think we have a pretty good idea on what works and what doesn't.
If that shirt size doesn't work for you, find me, I'll change it. We have one more shirt left. Anyone has a question?
Yeah, you got a question?
Are all the game assets and everything happening on Sui, or is it on multiple chains?
Yeah, so the game is going to be on Sui through the Plushie marketplace.
Yeah, so the assets will be in Clutchy. Clutchy is one of our like close partners. So Jacob, I think he's probably preparing for his presentation, but he was the green background founder in the media. Actually, I can go back. That guy, top left, that's Jacob. So we're working closely with Clutchy and to build out that user experience as well.
Fantastic.
Okay, you're taking the shirt. You're asking questions.
Any other questions?
No choice.
I have one, but I want to make sure everyone else gets a chance first. It's actually the real question, don't worry. Okay, you mentioned a number of things that I'm also interested in. I think I have a question maybe somewhat into what Jane asked. I'm curious to know if you've maybe noticed or developed any strategies around scaling the culture that you want to see in your community.
Yeah. So we have some ideas of incorporating. So the big one is actually in June we plan to host another IRL event in Paris. Actually, Paris is a lot easier to get to than Estonia. So a lot of our community is in Europe, and as we're scaling, we hope to host these more IRL events. And like with the daily events, daily fireside chats, we want to bring this like connection that like people can trust us, because we're also fully honest. If you look at my name, you can probably find out where I live. Same with mine. And I guess like as we scale, like these daily events, these IRL events will just grow bigger and bigger. We always try to do cross-community events as well. So we've done a few events with SuiNS, with Clutchy. We did one with like Sugar Kingdom, if you guys know Sui NFTs. We did one with a few other NFT projects as well. So we're always trying to do cross-community events. We're always trying to like bring more people into our ecosystem and like get to know like understand our culture. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's great, actually. Well, unless we have any other questions, we can let the two of you go. So if everyone please give another round of applause.